Hello, Tourpreneurs. It is Mitch Bach, and we are back with another episode of the Tourpreneur podcast. We are back for a new season of weekly podcast episode. It is now September 2024, and we will be returning to a full schedule of Tourpreneur podcast episodes, newsletters, virtual events, all sorts of things happening this fall as our North American and European friends enter into what becomes a little bit of the off season. I know a lot of you are all busy out there, and my guests today are three incredibly busy professional tour guides who are all interacting in pretty successful ways with TikTok. And so our conversation today is going to be all things TikTok, what it takes to succeed on the platform, what it takes to master it, what it takes to create content, how it works in your tour businesses, all of that and more straight ahead. But first, why don't we get started by introducing our TikTokers? And since there are three of them and they're used to talking in front of a camera, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, share their handle, and just a little bit about who they are and what their TikTok account is about. Let's start with Megan Marod, the Megan Daily.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on the Tourpreneur podcast. So as Mitch said, I'm Megan Marod. My account is the Megan Daily. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. I'm a licensed New York City tour guide, so the bulk of my content is about how to get your very best New York City experience with a very heavy history focus. But I also do travel and tourism all over the world, and one of my huge passions is promoting tours, tour companies, and all of their various forms all across the planet, and to encourage travelers to take tours and see it as an essential part of their travel experience.
Excellent. David Harry from London, what's going on?
Hi. So I am a failure at all other social platforms. The only thing that I've managed to work at all is TikTok, and I'm an accidental, I hate using the word, but I'll say it, I'm an accidental influencer. I had no expectations whatsoever when I started doing it 2 years ago now that anything would happen, and it's just blown up. It's insane. My background is I haven't always been a tour guide. So for 25 years, I worked in the financial services district of the City of London. I started as a photocopy operator, and 25 years later, I was a vice president at Deutsche Bank. But I took early retirement, having retrained as a guide in the last couple of years before I left. I retired at 56 because I could, and I'm now living the dream of being a professional tour guide, and I just absolutely love it. London is my real only place I guide in, but my TikTok covers other places as well. If I'm out on holiday anywhere, I'll just take lots of videos and upload them as well. Anything historical, interesting, that's it.
Fantastic. I'm a little annoyed that you retired at 56 because I'm in my 40s and I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. John O'Sullivan, 1 Minute Tours. Tell me about yourself.
So my name is John. I've been on a podcast a few times to talk about my walking tour business, which is Depot Adventures, which continues to operate in Melbourne, Australia, with 7 employees down there and a general manager. But after moving to the U.S., I found myself as a content creator. So I started doing videos to promote my tours, and then it grew into its own thing where it's eclipsed the tour business. And now 1 Minute Tours is the moniker I go by here. I am a big fish in the small pond of Minnesota content creators, closing in at about a million views a week right now, and that's become the main part of my business, which is that I make videos for organizations to bring attention to them, while also making videos for my audience to promote Minneapolis and Minnesota generally.
Great. So 3 very different contexts for TikTok, 3 very different individuals here. I'm really interested to dive in and understand your strategies a little bit better. David, let's start with you because you called yourself an accidental TikToker, failed at everything else. What was it about TikTok that just clicked for you? Why was this the platform that worked for you?
TikTok rewards authenticity, and I'm a very I get very excited about stuff. So that comes across naturally in the platform. Whereas, as I mentioned, I failed on Instagram because I can't be bothered to learn how to do editing or flash backgrounds, etc. So when I'm out, all I do is just use my iPhone, no microphone. I just wave my camera about. I get lots of comments from people saying, for God's sake, hold it steady, etc. Which I'm not going to change. That's part of my, I don't say the charm, it's part of my shtick. And as the first few videos I did, one just went viral straight away. And from that point, I was hooked. Then about a year ago, I joined the Creator Fund. I don't know if you're all members of the Creator Fund as well, but that's really changed my entire attitude towards TikTok because you get so much money from it. I just can't believe how much money I've earned from it as well. And I'm now, guiding is my thing. That's what I'm doing. So I could just live without TikTok tomorrow because guiding was what I really live for. But it's just really helped me get extra work and validate myself as well and get other opportunities and working with galleries and museums and being on media as a result of it too. But it's all to do with, I believe, my personality is quite excitable. And I think that comes across really well on the TikTok platform.
Can I just say about David, I've followed him for a few years, actually. It's kind of neat to be able to talk to you now. And I do consulting with businesses about social video, and okay. I hope you don't take this as an insult. It really is genuinely not meant to be. But if I were to write down on a piece of paper all the things to do when doing social video, you do none of them. But right. Your videos are so good because you are so authentically you, and you are so, it's in terms of like the audio visual quality or yeah. like you said, no microphone in there, but you are so passionate and so like classic London tour guide, and it's such a great test case or as an example of why the platform is so good. Because it does the authentic people who are really sharing something of value, rise to the top.
I also think it's the whole piece, the For You page as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to butt in, Megan, apologies. But the For You page concept is brilliant for me because it means I don't have to spend a penny on marketing. And if my content is good, it will succeed.
Megan, what are your thoughts about content creation? I feel like your videos are more produced, more edited than just an old man with an old phone just wandering around London aimlessly.
Yeah, I guess I'm not an accidental influencer. I am someone who worked my bum off to become a professional content creator. And in some ways, my journey is I was a tour guide who wanted to circle out of tour guiding to become a professional content creator and influencer. And somehow through all of that, I ended up getting more deep into tour guiding and doing more tours and having my own company. So it's sort of this loop-de-loop roller coaster. However, something that I do tell people is that while, I'm very lucky. I have a fiance who is very happy to help me co-create everything. So I sort of have a cameraman. I've certainly figured things out as I went, but I really enjoy editing. I've been editing since I was in high school. So there's several decades worth of editing experience in there. But something that I've found to be really interesting about social media is what works for me isn't necessarily going to work for anybody else. And as David said, you don't have to invest a lot of money at all. You don't even have to make videos. You can make a blog. You can have a podcast. You can focus on photography, the written word. You can do extremely highly produced videos that follow a brand guide, or you can just be like, oh, this is my day as a tour guide. And your audience is going to find you. But I do think that there's something very important to say, which is some of the success is accidental, for sure. Like my first viral video was an accident. I set a goal to do one video a day, and it was like a rainy day. I didn't have a video. I was just like, oh, I'm running to the train. What am I going to do? And I made this video about a sculpture in New York City called Mr. Double Check, and that was the first mega viral one, and I got thousands of followers. That was kind of an accident. But in terms of actually selling tour products, there is an SEO. You can actually do things to help guarantee your success or to help boost your success, because TikTok is a search engine. And what I find to be really interesting is the content that books me the most tours isn't the one that gets the most views. It's not even the most professionally produced one. It's one that I filmed after I had an ice skating lesson. I sat down at my desk. I'm literally in my ice skating clothes. And someone made a comment that said, do you give private tours? And I responded to that comment and I said, yes, I give private tours. Here's how to book a tour. And I used the text in TikTok to say book a private New York City tour. And in the copy, I was like, how to book a private New York City tour. And I posted it. And almost everybody who books a tour with me says that they found me through that one TikTok because they searched or private New York City tour. They said they use TikTok as a search engine versus Google because they trust TikTok more. It's harder to promote and put a lot of money towards showing up high on the search engines. Versus if you look on Google, we all know that you type in Google and you get a whole bunch of OTAs. You could spend $1 bazillion.
Rubbish.
So just that simple, I also work for a billboard, and my one TikTok gets them $5,000 a month in sales, and I can track it because there's a code that I only use in that one TikTok. I posted it 2 years ago. And today, it still gets them $5,000 a month in sales because if you Google Times Square billboard discount, it's what shows up. So there's certainly accidents, and you want to throw spaghetti on the wall and find out what works for you and what your style is. But you can also do things to help people find you and your business.
David, what are you doing something similar in order to make sure that your customers are eventually booking a tour with you? What does that conversion path look like?
Well, I'm not sure that I am, to be honest. I'm not actually looking for people to book my tours through TikTok. It's just an accident if they do it. What I do, I use the same hashtag for all my videos. And I post about maybe twice a day as well. And I'll talk a bit later if we get the chance about reposting, because I started to repost a lot recently as well. I just use the hashtag David Harry, the London Spy. I occasionally put in at tour guide, at London guide. But you're really inspired me, Megan, to think about other ways to actually create throughput. I get about an email a day. Sorry.
And it shows up in Google too. So if you Google, your TikTok can show up. Instagram doesn't really, but your TikToks and your YouTubes will.
So at the top of my bio, I've got my email address. And that's anyone who says, how do we book a tour? I just says, email me. So I don't use any calendars. I don't have any booking software to act as an intermediary. I just, I'm turning lots of work away as well because I want to have a life, a holiday too. And it's just, to me, it's just fun. That's all it is. It's just entertainment. And as a creator, I hardly ever watch anyone else's content on TikTok. I spend all my time on TikTok looking at my own videos, my own profiles, seeing how well they're doing, and my analytics, and how much money I'm earning, etc. So it's an interest. I'm still shocked as well. I have to say, I'm still completely bemused. I'm 60 years old. I'm retired, and this is eventually a youth platform or whatever. But so I still haven't managed to understand how it works properly. But I just love it.
John, you are a veteran tour company owner in several countries. And so I'm curious kind of your perspective on thinking about this as a means for not only selling tours, selling private tours, whatever it might be, but what are your thoughts in general about tour operators around the world thinking about using TikTok as a conversion mechanism?
I mean, we can take tour operators out of it. Anyone who's in the business of making business, needs to be on this platform. And I'm very happy that most people haven't figured it out because it lets us on this call have first mover advantage. I see this platform as being the way that SEO was in the early 2000s, or Facebook marketing and pay-per-click advertising was in the early 2010s. This is the future. And we're using TikTok too much as to describe this. It's more social video that we're doing. It's not. I'm platform agnostic. But this idea of an app that you open and it puts a video in front of your face without user selection, that is something that's not going away. And as Megan was saying, it's very powerful in terms of what sort of ways that people are using it. People are using it to get around the marketing speak of SEO and of all the ways that you used to be able to find stuff. People are using TikTok because they get that authentic recommendation on there. Actually, it works for us as marketers because we are kind of the only ones talking in the room. It's not this just cavalcade of marketers trying to get to the top of Google search results when I search things to do in New York when I go to New York, for example.
I wonder, actually, we're always recommending getting booking software, making sure you're as easily bookable as possible. But it almost sounds like in this sort of age of social video being so linked to authenticity, David's just simple email address is actually more appealing than sort of entering into some sort of, e-commerce booking flow. It's almost like just email this eccentric guy and hopefully I'll be lucky enough to get a tour. Megan, in terms of a guide who's intimidated by video, what would you recommend for not only thinking about getting started, but then also thinking about what kind of content to film? How do you overcome those initial nerves of being in front of the camera and then thinking through what you would actually produce as content?
Yeah, that's a great question. Some of the things is to know that you don't actually have to be on camera to create the content. The first one that I had go viral, I literally walked around a statue and then I did a voiceover afterwards. And that's like much more controlled, right? You can film a statue, and then if you want to have your voice on it, you can have your voice on it, and you can do that from the comfort of your own home. As a content creator, I have content creator friends who make so many different types of content. Sometimes all they do is just pan across a room and people see this beautiful skyline and people follow them. So I think you have to think about the different ways that social media can work for you. So it can work in doing a call to action. The call to action might be come book a tour. It can also work as a way of building trust, or I call it tipping the ball in the net. I think a lot of times I get hired as a tour guide from people's recommendations because they can show them my content. And on my content, you get to see very specifically my style. But when I'm even looking to hire a guide, if I see that there's someone who goes to a lot of basketball games in New York City and all it is like a photo of them smiling or just a video of a tiny clip of a game, but I see that repeatedly and I know that I'm hiring them for a sports tour, I'm like, oh, sports are a part of their life. They're going to have this knowledge. They don't have to do a fully produced thing. I'm just like, oh, cool. I know that like they live in New York. They love New York. I hired a guide in Morocco because he posted a little short video of this fried bread covered in Nutella. And I was like, we're going to be besties. Never showed his face. And we ended up being besties. So I think you don't need to worry about it being perfect. You don't need to worry about seeing what David does or what John does or what I do. Just find something that is comfortable for you, that you feel you can do on a fairly regular basis. You don't have to do it daily, but like enough that you actually get a following, and that is an expression of you. And you're going to try things, and some things will be successful and some things won't. And then you'll look at the analytics and be like, oh my goodness, everyone liked it when I circled a statue. I'll do more of those.
Can I just jump in and say just something to add to that is that I found that my experience as a tour guide informed a lot of the kind of videos that I did. I tried a bunch of different things to make video work, and I failed and failed again on YouTube and Instagram Lives and all these things until TikTok started working and the creative constraint was that 1 minute limit they used to have that really made it work. But the other thing is that in my tour guide career, I had been a multi-day operator across Europe, bringing busloads of 50 people through Santorini in crazy crowds and having to jump up, hey, everyone come over here, and not worry about what an ass of myself I was making. Same thing in like Trafalgar Square when I was giving my walking tours there for a group of 50 people. I had to just like not worry about being an idiot and looking like an idiot because that was my job. And so one of the biggest compliments or most common compliments I get is that people are like, I don't know how you have the confidence to walk around and talk at your camera like that, but it was informed from my tour guide life of leading large group tours. And that to me is such a defensive moat because there are very few people who are comfortable in a public place talking to their camera, which is my bread and butter. It's all I do, that it makes me visually distinct. So I'm not saying this is the only way to do it. I'm just saying, like, for me, that's how I found the visual style, was drawing from the skills that I learned as a tour guide.
Yeah, if I can add,
it might also be, I think it might also be worth like consuming content. So if you start consuming content, you see what you're drawn to. And you'll also know, like in my social media classes, one of the things they tell you is to look at your competition. So for example, if you're a kayak company, maybe you can look at other kayak companies and see what they're posting. And some of them might be posting a lot of face stuff, but some of them might just be posting videos of their kayaks because the kayaks sell themselves. So you can either choose to then like kind of do the same thing or go in the opposite direction. But the more content you consume, the more you realize the different types of content, and you can see which one you feel the most comfortable making. And you can also be like, oh yeah, all these crazy people are out there being silly on camera. Yeah. I can be silly in camera too.
Uh-huh. So I was just going to add to the conversation as well. I think all our experiences as guides, especially during lockdown, when a lot of us had to resort to using video as a guide anyway, the virtual tours or whatever, should have helped us be more confident about being on camera anyway. But also, I was going to say also, I'm talking about the For You page and looking at other competition. I think the algorithm in TikTok is absolutely rubbish because I am not interested in 99% of what I see on TikTok. I don't understand why it's failed so badly to find my interest. It doesn't. Anyway, that's me. Sorry, but yeah. But
well, I have to about also, that.
Well, it's interesting what you say, David, about that you don't consume the content. I was very much the opposite. I was kind of interested in this thing I kept hearing about in 2018 of TikTok, and so I downloaded it, started using it, but I was too bashful to do it for a really long time. And I just started looking at a lot of content, and I did find the algorithm pretty effective for me. But in looking at other content, I started to learn what I connected to. And I studied film, and so I kind of was able to take the subtext and put it in the text and realize, okay, I'm more interested when someone's out in a place than I am when they're talking in their bedroom. Okay, I'm interested when there's camera movement versus not. I'm not that interested when it's like a back and forth interview, highly edited. And those are all the things that were my taste, and they all led to where I was. And it was only through consuming competitor content, as you said, Megan, that I was able to develop my style.
I think the other thing is that I always imagine I'm speaking to just one person as well when I'm on camera. I'm not protected to a group, it's just one user, a bit like television is like that as well. Also, I was very lucky that I think it was my third TikTok video went viral. So I hadn't actually watched much out before it happened to me. So maybe I was a bit spoiled by that. But I tried to generally avoid watching other guides as well because I don't want to feel like I'm copying them either. I don't want to be like, but that's just me.
Yeah, I like that idea that you're leaning into your unique voice, and I think TikTok in particular does a fantastic job of amplifying a wide range of voices. I mean, certainly they're all entertaining, they're all good on video or whatever it might be, but I see such a range of people that people are drawn to. It's not sort of the Instagram world where you need to be young, sexy, in a bikini with a hat on overlooking Santorini in order to, which I just got a mental image of David, and I'm going to end the podcast right now. David, what have you learned about what makes good content just through your own process of creating stuff, throwing it out there, and then looking at the analytics?
I've learned that videos which used to work 2 years ago when I first started do not work as well now if I try to repost them. So I've learned to be a lot more concise. When I'm editing the text on screen, I cut out all the ums, and I also, with any dead spots, I actually just cut the video out and make it as really as concentrated as possible. I don't care too much about the end of the videos. I don't care if people don't watch to the end. I think people tend to watch 20 seconds maybe, and then if you can get the message there, that's fine. Sometimes I do like to tease with a bit with something at the end as well, but I try to flag it. What else can I say? Yeah, obviously interesting stuff that people put, unusual things. I don't like posting stuff that I suspect lots of people know, so I try to avoid really obvious things. And I like to take people with me. I feel like that I treat them like they're on my tour, and I've showed them something interesting. But like I said, I'm really quite ignorant about why I've become a success because I just still don't understand it. So yeah, if I think of anything else, I'll let you know.
Megan, what are your thoughts on sort of what is good content today in 2024?
That's another great question. Again, I think it's different for everybody. As John mentioned, like when he's consulting people, there are things that he will maybe tell people like to not do and then turn around and he'll see someone's like a huge success. There's certainly, I've told him this to his face, so I'm sure it's okay for me to say this. There's a creator named Keith York City in New York. He has a brilliant mind. He's a great historian. and he pretty much just posts static photos, and yet he has, like so many followers, and he's literally been like, yeah, I don't know why people go to me, but I think that good content is different for everybody. And, again, that goes into do whatever is authentic to you. As David mentioned, people are drawn to authenticity. So if you're not a video person, if you're a photo person, they're going to see that when you're trying to do video. And if you're trying to do photo, they're going to be like, yeah, this is like where they're living. But in general, other things, like if you're scrolling through Instagram, you're always going to see, or TikTok, some creator who's going to tell you how to make $1 million using that platform by downloading these viral hooks. Just get that list of viral hooks, because people really do get drawn to things like, did you know? A secret. My life changed when. And you can literally just go on Google and be like 20 hooks to use on social media. And it makes so many things. It just hooks people. It's psychological. It's like a Hallmark movie. You know what's going to happen in the Hallmark movie, and yet you can't stop watching it. So as soon as someone says, like, 5 things you didn't know about New York City, people are going to stay and watch until the end of the 5. So that's a good little, like, nugget. If you're starting out, you want to create good content, just find some hooks, add those hooks to the beginning of any story or any content you want to do, and see how it goes.
Are you planning out your content, Megan, in days, weeks? Are you batching it? What does your content scheduling look like?
Oh, yeah. So I definitely batch create. My typical process is I think about a month in advance. So, for example, October's coming up. So for October, I'm always like, what am I going to do that's a little spooky? So I usually do something about ghost signs. I did ghost signs last year. New York City has so many ghost signs. So I start writing. I'm like, okay, am I going to do 30 days of ghost signs? Okay, let's go for it. And I write them out. And then my fiance and I go out and we film. And we can film like up to 30 in a day, but I don't necessarily always encourage people to do that many in a day. It just depends on like how much we have sunlight and how we're feeling. But what's really great about filming a bunch of them at once is then I can have the rest of the month to either edit or give tours or live my life. But I also do, if you follow my account, if you follow the Megan Daily, you'll see that there's stuff when I start to do campaigns that I have planned out and that I have batch created. Right now, I'm doing one about immigration in New York City. And you can literally see I'm wearing the same clothes, the light's about the same, like I'm styled the same way. I batched created those. But because I'm in New York City, there's always special events happening. There's always something that's newsworthy. So I will like just do that and I'll create something in the moment. And sometimes I'll just do this was my day as a New York City tour guide. And those are usually really popular. It's something that I think anybody listening to this could very easily put together. You can literally start with, I brushed my teeth. I drove to work. I met my group at this historic house. We saw this rock. We saw this church. We saw this tree. And then I treated myself to a piece of pizza at my favorite pizzeria. Want to know more? Book a tour, or something. So that's like a pretty simple thing that you can put together. It's in the moment. And I'll do like I call it a healthy mix of the pre-planned and the stuff that's more in the moment. Or I do get brand deals, so I have to do those when those come out. A little pro tip to help people if you're trying to create things in the moment, just to try to make this easier for you. There's an app called CapCut. I strongly recommend that anyone creating content gets CapCut. You can use the free version because I literally make my living. I pay for like the pro, whatever the most expensive one is, because it's worth it for me. It might not be worth it for you. But in CapCut, there is a template thing. So if you open it down at the bottom, there's I don't know if I know a lot of people are listening to this, so it's oral, but if you're watching it on video, it's like the bottom left if you're looking at the phone. So if you click on templates, they just have these pre-made templates, and you can literally just plug videos in. There's music that you're allowed to use. They even have some pre-made text. So it's a really great way. For example, if there's a parade in your hometown and you want to showcase that and showcase that you're like in the know and that you're like really an expert, a local expert of your town, you can just take a lot of video. They don't even necessarily have to be great video. Plug it into those templates and voila, you have a video that looks really, really good and you can post it. People are like, how did you do that so fast? I'm like, CapCut templates.
David and John, what software are you guys using?
I just record native in my phone all the time and I upload it into TikTok. I use CapCut very occasionally because its audio transcription functionality is much better than TikTok. So if I've got a section of my speaking that doesn't come clearly across on TikTok, I do it in CapCut instead. I always trim off the CapCut videos before I upload them to remove that CapCut annoying image at the end of them as well, because that looks like I'm trying too hard. But yeah, so just native and upload afterwards. I never ever record in TikTok. And I've never used any of the CapCut functions you mentioned, Megan. I think I'm going to have a look at them.
And my style is that all of my videos have no edits in them. They're all one-take videos. So the 1-minute tour is from beginning to end, 0 cuts, and I just record as many times as it takes to get a compelling shot in that way. And part of that is because I am designing for quantity over quality. I'm looking to be able to get videos out literally like at least daily. For the last week, I've been doing 2 daily videos. I can only do that because I don't have to edit. I was experimenting with Sprout to get stuff out, other aggregators to get upload content, but I was finding that it was not getting as much spread. And so I've actually been really doing the hard yards of uploading natively to all the apps. So I'm opening up Instagram. I'm doing the captions individually in there. I'm tagging people in there because the accounts on Instagram will be different on TikTok. And I'm repeating it on TikTok. And that's keeping me from doing all the platforms. Like I haven't uploaded to YouTube in a while as a result, but it makes so I'm very focused on the growth of those platforms.
David and Megan, do you agree you need to be doing this daily, 1 or 2 daily? Is quantity important?
I disagree that you have to, but I was going to say that I agree with John that in many ways on social media, quantity is quality. Especially, I mean, I think that you need to do whatever it is that you are comfortable with. If you are someone who can't produce daily, I don't want to tell you that you need to produce daily. You're going to stress yourself out. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be fun. It is supposed to be fun. But don't let the perfect get in the way of the good enough. I do think because people are so drawn to authenticity, like the more you put out, the greater your chances are that something's going to hit. And when you find those things that hit, then you can like keep doing more of them and more of them. And it's been, I think, proven that the more you post, the faster you will grow. It's very rare that the more you post, you'll start to lose followers. So don't let the perfect get in the way.
I hired a social media manager earlier this year. And I had been neglecting Instagram. I'd only been focusing on TikTok. And so on TikTok, I had like 50,000 followers. And on Instagram, I had like 1,000. Like I'd only put stuff up there when I had the chance. With the social media manager, I had this ocean of content that I could post there. And so we actually posted 4 videos a day for 2 months straight. Because I had like literal years of content that I could put on there. And the account grew from 1,000 to 40,000 followers within those 2 months. So it is if you build it, they will come scenario. And to what Megan said just there, don't let what is it? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good enough.
Yeah.
The benefit of posting daily is that it forces you to get the thing out there. It may not be in everyone's wheelhouse, but like if you know, like I gotta get a new video out the next day, you don't worry too much about today's video not being that great. You're almost creating a mental. You're eliminating a mental hurdle. Because now it's just, I got to get the thing out and move on to the next thing, and maybe tomorrow will be better. Whereas as soon as you add even 1 day in the middle, as soon as you say, oh, it's once a week, or maybe 1 to 3 a week, it's too variable. Like to me, my dumb like Catholic upbringing with rules and stuff really like works well with, I post a video every day because that's just my rule, and there isn't an exception for it.
Yeah, I used to post until about a month ago, 2 or 3 times a day. But then I saw somewhere that on the, again, I think I'd like to talk about the Creative Fund. I know it's not that relevant, but it's really helped me. You only get money from the first 30 videos you post a month on the Creative Fund now. They put a new rule in. I don't know if that's true, but
Really?
I've limited myself to 30 a month now just in case I go viral with my 31st. But I repost a lot nowadays. So maybe about 10% of my videos are ones I posted previously as well. But I often, if I'm on a tour, I'll just hand my camera to one of the people there and say, do you want to record this stop? And anyone who doesn't want to be in the camera video just can stand to one side. And they are very successful, especially my gallery guides. Talk at a gallery, they've done really well there. But also, if a video doesn't do well, then no one's going to see it anyway. No one's going to criticize you for not doing it. I've had a few controversial videos that I think I've lost some followers from. And I've had one video in particular, I got almost as many comments as I did likes, which is pretty rare ratioing on that one. I had to turn off comments in the end on that one. So you can be, things can be a bit touchy, but it's nowhere near as unpleasant and nasty as X, which I deleted today off my phone, by the way. And so, I've had, the most unpleasant comment I've ever had was early on. Someone said, "I can see your nose hairs."
I'm very jealous that you don't receive nasty comments because
it's sexism as well. I think it's often gender based.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that's something that is like, I don't know, for me, I've had to like really put on this iron suit and be able to say like all engagement, like even like when people say something negative, I'm making money off of that.
Yeah.
And it's a really big thing. But
you were playing a different game than we are as the male-female divide here. It's so much harder to be doing this as a woman.
I just want to like make sure that everyone knows if there is a mean comment, don't let that discourage you. Like there will be mean comments, but that's okay. It's their wound. It's not yours. Like just ignore it. If it's an app where you can use hidden words, hide words that you don't want to hear. Don't get discouraged by mean comments.
Yeah, or turn off comments.
How important is it to be engaging with your audience in the comments section? Because I know that's often a thing in social media. They want you also responding to comments and things like that.
I like every comment I receive, unless it's unpleasant, unless the video's gone viral and because I've got too many, I can't possibly read them all. So I try to at least like everything that's that's not unpleasant. I do respond to a small percentage of them if they ask me questions or if I can think of something funny to say. But yes, I interact. But I don't get. One thing I would say is I get lots of people sending me these messages on TikTok, and all they do is like a wave. And that's it. And I look at and I don't understand it. Well, I never reply to them. They ask me a question, but I had 200 in my inbox yesterday, and it's just what are they doing? I don't understand it. So yeah, I really
platform. It's a default engagements like prompt it gives when you follow someone. It says you want to say hi, start a conversation. So it's really obnoxious. Hey, can we go back to what David started the conversation and we didn't continue on about the Creator Fund? I'd love to have a chat.
We never started it. He's brought it up twice, and we just keep rolling right over it. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about making money on the platform as a storyteller.
So I'm new to this a little bit because I had an account that was created in Australia, and so I wasn't eligible to be on the Creator Fund, and so they made the painful move of having to just start over again. With 50,000 followers, I nuked the account and started fresh the U.S. account. And just when I got that 10,000 threshold where you can get in the Creator Fund again, I had my most viral video yet that got 20 million views. Mm-hmm. And so as a result of that, my first month on the Creator Fund, I got a $4,000 check, which was welcome. But then also when you look at what CPMs are and what I was getting compared to what I would have gotten had it been on YouTube, I realized this is actually not very business plannable because it's not like you can plan for 20 million view videos all the time.
So let's talk about that video. First of all, what video made you $4,000? What went viral for you?
Well, an hour and a half south of me, right next to my hometown, there was a 100-year-old dam that historic flooding that threatens to knock over. There were waters going over the dam, and public works officials were preparing the town for an imminent risk of this dam falling over and flooding my hometown. And so I live an hour and a half away from here, but I jumped in the car and I drove down there because I'm like, this is a major news story. And I did a bunch of videos down there, but this one that I got that got all these views had a camera assist with me, and she was shooting from far back with a 3x zoom, which kind of flattened the image and made me appear much closer to this dam that looked like it was about to fall over. And it started with me with my back to the camera, kind of with my arms on my hips. And I turn around and I had some things I wanted to say, but I just stuck the landing in terms of like saying it in a concise way without a lot of ums or ahs. And the first thing I said was like, this town is preparing for the imminent collapse of this dam. And so immediately it was like like Armageddon sort of disaster movie thing. And that's what made it break out of my normal followers. So normally it's the Midwest that follows me, particularly Minnesota, particularly Minneapolis. But in this case, I had people commenting from Kenya, Australia, England, all over, wanting to follow the story of this dam. And it created this thing where people were not just watching the one video, but then all the ones that followed as a result. And so, like I said, I don't think I can plan for a kind of generational disaster to happen every month. But it did kind of make me think, geez, if there's a major news story, like when my governor got announced as the vice presidential nominee for the Democratic Party, I was like calling everyone I knew with the Walls campaign and Walls people ready to jump on a plane to go over to Pennsylvania because I knew that, I could make that money back now. And so I could justify the trip if I can get something that's newsworthy enough.
David, what's your experience with the Creator Fund? How does it work? Can you explain a little bit like what's happening?
You need to have 10,000 followers first, and you mustn't be registered as a business. That is the UK version anyway. So you've got to be a private account. And then you have to have a minimum of 1,000 views for a video to start counting. And then it'll give you a price per 1,000 of those eligible views, which is roughly about 60% of all the views I get on a video will be eligible. And then that amount varies. On average, I'd say I get 50 pence, which is about 64 American cents per 1,000 views on my videos. I don't know how that compares to other people, but that's roughly it. My most viral video ever, I uploaded it before I joined the Creator Fund, so I got nothing for it. That had 28 million views, and that had no voice in it. That was just music, and that boy, it was universal. I still get thousands of views a day for that one as well. But afterwards, the one that's done the most has been the one about the Queen. The Queen died. It was announced on the radio. I was just cycling around London. I went straight to Buckingham Palace outside the gates. The crowds were just forming. The flag was being lowered. And someone in the crowd started singing "God Save the Queen." And they all took it up. And that was really, a thrilling thing. And I captured that. Yeah, that was really nice. But, so, and it's... Again, I only joined the new Creator Fund last September when it came out, and I didn't know how to join the old Creator Fund at all. I spent months trying to work out how do you do it, and I lost out so much I didn't know how to do it. The other thing is I was quite a lonely creator. I didn't have any other people I knew who were on TikTok who were creators. So I would like to create a community where I can actually discuss things with other people, because we've got sorts of problems that people aren't interested, like how do I appeal a video when it's being ridiculously blocked, or that sort of thing, which I'd like to find other people to share with about. That might help. But generally, I'm earning surprisingly good money from the Creator Fund. So it still shocks me. Yeah.
Megan?
I'm so jealous that he's earning so much money. I just had my best month, and just to give people an idea, because I made something like, I'm looking right now, $323 in the month. And that's with a few videos getting 1 million views. So I can't pay
how many videos a month are you posting, Megan?
I post at least once a day, sometimes. Okay.
So we're similar there. That's interesting. Your CPMs must be lower with New York, maybe because it's transient audience.
Part of the thing is, remember that to be monetized, one of the things, David did a really great job explaining, it is very similar in the U.S., the number of followers that you have to qualify, what you need to qualify for the Creator Fund.
Is it the same, just to interrupt, as you have to be an individual, you can't be a business?
No, you can be a business in the U.S. I'm a business and I get paid.
Okay.
I just kind of have been grandfathered into the Creator Fund so many times. I don't even remember how I'm set up. but you do have to have a video that's over a minute long. So not all of my videos are over a minute because I try to cross-post between Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And YouTube Shorts have to be 59.9 seconds or less. So it becomes ineligible for TikTok, and I make so much more money on YouTube than I do on TikTok. So not every video that I get qualifies. If it's a brand deal, so if I say that it's like paid, I don't get qualifications. But I also am like constantly amazed. I find that TikTok isn't incredibly transparent about what a qualified view is, or like why this qualified as a qualified view and why this other one did not. Because I will have, like, I had one the day that the sky turned orange in New York, that like the BBC was interviewing me, and like news clips are like using my thing, and it got so many views. It was over a minute, but it was like you had 2 qualified views, and I was like, I really don't understand how the number of qualified views was so low when like the watch time is like 3/4 of the video. So if you're unfamiliar with social media, when you post something, you can go in and look at the analytics, and the analytics will tell you all sorts of things, including how long people watch the video. So if you have like a 90-second video and people only watch it for 2 seconds and scroll away, like that's not what you want. You want them to watch it for a longer period of time. And to make money on TikTok, you need to have, 5 seconds? There's a certain number of seconds that you have to watch it for. Yeah, so like here's one that says I only had 108 qualified views. Like, but the watch time, it says I made 11 cents in rewards, so I have to look and figure out what the watch time is. But I'm like, TikTok, I feel like you're doing me dirty.
I agree.
But
Can we just zoom out for a second and explain like the key issue here and the challenge for these platforms and for creators on these platforms is that unlike with YouTube, if we were creating our videos on YouTube, and not YouTube Shorts but traditional YouTube videos, Google owns YouTube. Google would serve an ad against the video that we have, and they could attribute that ad as being a result of our video. And as a result, Google will pay 55% of their revenue to the creator who makes that video, which is quite lucrative, and it's how a lot of people make their living. When you move to social video, where it's this scrolling thing, they only serve ads every 3 to 7 videos, depending on how their inventory is sold. And so as a result, they have to decide, well, how do we divvy up the ad revenue for those 3 to 7 videos that were in between the ad? And that's why they introduced this metric called a qualified view, where they say, well, that guy's video about the dam that was about to collapse got people to watch the entire time, which allowed us to serve more ads against it. So we're going to give him a more qualified views for that than the person who just did like a template with a bunch of slideshows that people skipped after 3 seconds. And so I agree with Megan that like it is incredibly opaque the way that they pay, but there's also like a structural challenge in here with the environment that we're playing in, because they're trying to attribute revenue to multiple creators at the same time, which is where it gets hard.
And they have to have watched it from the For You page on TikTok.
Yes.
So like you can't just share it with like 100,000 of your friends and tell them to all watch it. But yes to everything that John said, but also yes to everything that David said, because I do know people who are able to pay their rent with TikTok. So it just is like, I don't know, luck of the draw. Maybe there's a way of like gaming the system better.
By the way, I should say, you said you're at like $300 a month. I'm at like $600 a month right now. And then David, I'm not sure where you're at. You don't share.
£1,300 a month.
Cool. So I think there's something really interesting here, maybe about our destinations as well, and the competition with others. Like I think probably David, I think you're so much bigger in terms of audience size, but there's probably something to the fact that like I'm the only person doing educational content in the Twin Cities on a regular basis, whereas Megan, you've got fierce competition in New York.
Yeah, I have.
This is also something. This is just something I want to say from everything that I hear it's almost down to each individual has a different sort of monetized relationship with TikTok, that there isn't this sort of just set chart that says this is how it's going to work, this is how you're going to earn. They are sometimes doing major creators dirty, where they might have tens of millions of followers and their CPMs go down to almost nothing, and it's almost like they get to arbitrarily decide how they're dispensing. It's very British monarchy, David. So I have to say, like, the capriciousness and the autocracy is really a British inheritance.
Yeah.
And I don't say for the tourpreneur audience, like, we should know the risks of working of making our income reliant on third parties. And we've talked about this OTAs forever. And my business is running OTAs. I love OTAs. They're great. But there's an inherent risk in making it so that you are not directly responsible for the money coming into your bank account. And that's what you're doing if you are relying on platform revenue. And so for me, I've built my business around the TikTok Creator Fund is gravy. But really the place I'm making my money is my direct relationships with organizations. Like, I just did a partnership with the Minnesota Zoo, who they paid me to do a series of partner videos with them. And that was both lucrative and something that I had a direct relationship with them on, that I could, like, now I'll go back and do more videos for them in the future, ideally. Because it's not even worth thinking about strategizing, because the platforms will change the way they pay you, like, with a drop of a hat, multiple times a year. It'll change. So it's no way to plan a business.
So what do you do? Do you just go with the flow? Do you just go, David, and say, listen, I'm just going to kind of wander around London, make my videos until the well dries up?
Yeah, to me, it's just a bonus for me, what I'm doing here. My main thing is my guiding. That's my real passion. And a lot of that is just through direct relationships. So I've got lots of business contacts. I worked in the city. I work with a lot of tour companies as well. I get lots of charities that I work with too, and museums and art galleries. So that's my real passion.
When we talk about partnerships, I know, David, you don't do them, do you? You don't do any brand deals. Megan, talk to me about what it's been like building a branded partnership sort of segment of kind of your income and of your relationship with social video.
It's been really interesting and very different than I think I imagined when I first started. When I first started, I imagined that my brand deals are going to be Gucci and Prada, sending me tons of free things and even paying me to wear the gorgeous gowns. And that is not what happened. For me, the people who were really interested in my content and in paying me were things like the New York City Tourism Board, museums, different neighborhood business improvement districts, the Manhattan Borough President. A lot of my brand deals have come from, like, really wonderful institutions in New York City, which makes me very happy because A, it fits my content. B, I feel really excited sharing that with people because I, like, 100% believe in it, and I'm not having to, be like, oh, look, teeth whitener for the 5,000th time. And it's also been really great for my tour company because I now have relationships with these really interesting institutions and attractions. And sometimes I can maybe even, like, pull some strings to get a special experience for my clients if they want to have that special experience. One of the attractions that I work for a lot is a billboard in Times Square where people can get their photo on a billboard for 15 seconds. It shows once an hour every 24 hours. And I've seen so many people, like, squealing with delight when they see their photo. And that's, like, made me just really happy that I was able to be a part of that. And I've also been really lucky in that most of the time, these attractions, it was their own idea to reach out to me. I'm curious, John, if, like, the zoo was the same way for you. Mm-hmm. I've certainly done
absolutely.
Some reach outs. I partner with, like, a cruise ship company that I did some reach outs with, and they specifically said they chose me because they feature history. So I get to make history content around the world. But yeah, John, I'd love to know your experience.
Yeah, it makes it really hard to justify continuing giving walking tours when I see what the unit economics and the margins are on partner videos. Seriously, like Mitch and I were talking about this when we met up last. It is a different stratosphere of business. My average order value when I'm having like a tour is like a traditional walking tour, maybe in the $500 to $1,500 range. And that order value, average like how much revenue I'm making from it. Average revenue that I'm making off of partner videos is about $8,000 for much less work. And so it's incredible. It is all out. It's no outreach, all inbound sales, because the whole nature of doing this is that we have a big audience. People are becoming fans of what we do because that's our whole modus operandi is like to get people to like what we do. And so, of course, if you're a marketer working for a zoo or a theater or a pipe company, that's a brand partnership I'm doing later this month, a company that literally makes pipes, and I have to find a way to make that interesting. They reach out to me. As a result, like the value exchange is so different. My competition now is media, other publishers. If they're not coming to me, who are they going to? They're going to the Star Tribune. They're going to the CBS affiliate here. They're going to the morning drive time radio. And so you call them up and you ask them, hey, what are you charging for your ad rates? And suddenly you realize it's a whole different category of business that you're operating in. And so for me, it was a matter of just creating the structure where I mimicked that same level of professionalism with the conversation, with that. It wasn't just an email now. It's a nice PDF I've designed in Canva that I'm sending back with the proposals, and developed a language that let me talk about these big numbers and then not, blush when I said them. And all that, really was a game changer for me, to the point where I'm now in the process of hiring 2 new full-time employees just to help me with the partner videos and moving kind of away from the traditional walking tours.
And
I think I'm too embarrassed. I'm too embarrassed and shy to do any of that. I think I also my videos are so amateurish. I don't think that any company would want me to promote them. So, sorry.
I think you're wrong, because companies don't have authenticity. They're these stuffy brands, and you're bringing that eccentricity to it. Are you not seduced by how easy? Look at. I know this is a podcast, but John is in a gold-plated mansion right now, sitting on a gold throne from all of his local brand deals. Are you not seduced, David?
Very much so. I'm tempted, but also, I'm too old for this. Yeah, I'm relaxing now. I'm doing what I like. I don't like hard work anymore. I did all the hard work when I was in the city of London. This is all pleasure for me.
Well, the way if David, if that was a future that you wanted, the way forward is to find someone who knows sales. It's like you're not comfortable with the sales process, and that's a lot of people who are tour guides. That's not something they're interested in or comfortable with. But I was in a B2B sales job before this, so I knew that. But I bet that when it comes to the actual content creation, you would get the same thing I get out of like that pipe company. The way I was able to make pipes interesting, they do radiant floor heating. Was I talked about the history of Manchuria and Korea and the Romans, who all had unfloor heating. And then I'm exactly where I always am with 1-minute tours. I'm just finding a complex topic, but finding a digestible way to share it with others. And so I think we have that same ability.
Well, I was like that at Deutsche Bank, so I was working for them for 25 years, and I got really passionate about any project I was given. I was able to communicate it clearly, quickly, and with enthusiasm. So maybe I could do it.
Right. And look at Lufthansa. Lufthansa recently did like a creators collaboration with a bunch of people. One day maybe they'll choose me. But you'll see that it's just like really people telling authentic stories in neighborhoods. It's not fancy editing. But I want to also piggyback off of something that John said, because John's mentioning that these brands are willing to pay a lot of money for the videos that creators make, because creators have an audience that they want to reach, and creators have a way of telling the story, and creators also have whatever equipment it is, whether the equipment is an iPhone or a big fancy camera, whether the equipment is Final Cut Pro or they're literally editing in TikTok or don't edit at all. The creators, I think, have something very valuable, and something that I see a lot of tour guides and tour companies struggling with is how to work with creators who aren't themselves. And I think that it would be really interesting to talk about the value that creators bring. I know it's been a discussion sometimes on Tourpreneur of like how to work with an influencer, which is kind of, I feel like we use that as a bad word, but I feel like influencer, content creator, like we're doing marketing, right? Like we're able to do marketing. We're able to shine a light in a direction that we want to shine that light. So I think it would be interesting to talk about the different ways, and perhaps if there's a tour company out there listening that like really doesn't have the time to create content or is really scared of creating content, how is it that they could work with us, with other creators? How would they go about looking for a creator to work with? And what can they realistically expect a creator to say yes to in terms of money, affiliate links, and the like?
Perfect. That's your question.
I mean, I just find this to be really, really fascinating because, like, just seeing how my own affiliate links work. For example, like, I had one TikTok that made $5,000 a month for a company for 2 years. That's a lot of money. I'm not getting a lot of money for that, and I made that video for free. So, like, just to put it into perspective, the product cost $150. If I had to buy the product, if I was not given the product, if I had to buy the product, I make 10% off of that affiliate link. So that's $15. I would have had to sell 10 billboards off of that before I even break even. I haven't even made any money yet, right? I have to sell 10 of those products before I even break even for that. But then it took me time to make it. So whatever my hourly rate is, if my hourly rate is $50 an hour and it took me 3 hours to do that, I have to sell 10 more billboards. At that point, they've made, I'm really bad at math. What's 150 times 20?
Deutsche Bank guy.
300. No, 3,000.
3,000.
3,000. So they've made $3,000 before I've even made like my hourly rate. So I just wanted to like kind of put that into perspective. And that's not to say that like every creator is a match for your tour company, but I just wanted to kind of put it into perspective that these creators, especially if they have an audience that you're looking for, like if you are somebody who's struggling to have any content on your grid at all, and there's a creator whose content you really like, you could always offer them a comp spot on your tour and ask them to post it as a collab post. John mentioned collab posts before we ever even began the podcast, I believe. But in a collab post, the post appears on the creator's grid, but it also appears on your grid. So you've already gotten content. And if you do like a high volume tour and that spot wasn't going to be used, like you've basically gotten content for free at that point, which I think is like
Instagram specific,
pretty amazing.
I'd say the collaborative posts
Yeah,
are
that's
Instagram specific.
Yeah, that's very Instagram.
Very useful. And I'll say also to your question, Megan, of like what value content creators provide. It's two pronged. One is access to their distribution. Like my followers are very specifically Minnesota followers, and so that is valuable. And then separate from that is the creative services that create a good video. You need to parse those two things out. So if you're a tourpreneur trying to decide whether to work with content creators, you can just find people who make the kind of videos you like, pay them to make one for you, and then you host it on your own channel if you have an audience. Or you can do both and have it be where you're getting their audience and they're making a video for you. Or you can give them your content to put on their channel. That'd be a bit more unusual. But those are 3 different value exchanges that we're talking about here.
Yeah, I think it's an entirely new podcast episode to dive into all of that because there's so much value in those different types of relationships. So this might just have to become a regular panel. I do want to end on just 2 quick points because I want our audience to leave feeling like they kind of have a little bit of a game plan if they're just getting started. And one of the things is, let's say I'm city tours of Fort Worth, Texas, or whatever, walking tours. Do I show up as a business, as a brand, or do I need to show up as an individual from your experience in kind of the TikTok orbit? Because I know I see these large companies like Walmart or whatever showing up and they're almost like ridiculed because that's not the vibe, as they say on something like TikTok. Should they be showing up as an individual? Should it be a human personality, authentic, individual driven? Talk to me a little bit about your best guess at like how a tour company should think about trying to show up on TikTok.
I think they should use their staff myself. I think they should use their best guides to start talking about what it's like to work for them, or what do you expect on a tour, or to do a couple of guest spots showing a section of what they love most about their guides. I think bring out the human element of it, bring out the personal element, and it's being authentic. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah, I mean, the account should be the business account. You should own your own business name, but then the way you curate the content on there is you get one person to be running it for you who's really comfortable in this space. And those people will come and go if they're an employee of yours. Ideally, it's you as the owner of the business because you'll be the most authentic voice you have. But you're not saying, come check out our amazing, great deal. You're giving people a slice of life into what your company does. And very rarely are you like doing a straight ad. That's a totally different thing than creating social video. It's look at this funny thing that happened today. There's a pizza shop I follow, and I think they're in Florida, and their whole thing is just like funny things that happen while they're making pizzas. And it's just like, it's really compelling. It's like a reality show. And never do they say, our pizza goes back to this year, founded by this person, and tastes like this, and the cheese has this quality to it. That's never the point of the video. It is entertainment first and foremost.
Yeah, I see this. I get served this bagel shop in Massachusetts, and it all revolves around the fact that one day they shot a video of one of the cute like young men that was working there making bagels, and the commenters were just all salivating over this guy, and so they just kept bringing him back, and it essentially became a thirst trap for this guy, and they were just responding to demand, but it became about that. So maybe follow where the audience tells you to go as well.
Santoro's Pizzeria in Tampa Bay. They have 600,000 followers, and look them up for good inspiration.
I mean, that's crazy. Megan, thoughts on how to begin showing up?
I think you just need to begin. I think that as you consume more content, you'll see the content that you really love. I think that there's a lot of really successful personality-based content creators that are running tour companies. Something that you might just want to be aware of is my social media is almost all me. And that's great, but I have a very difficult time getting people to take tours with people who are not me. In which case, like maybe you want to find like your whole team, or as David mentioned, your office staff or something. And there's also a lot of, depending on your product, depending on the tour, I think that there's ways of creating a very stylized, beautiful account that maybe never even shows a person, but it's completely aspirational. People put it on their Pinterest boards. They're like, oh my goodness, that was such a gorgeous, mountain view. And you can also establish yourself as an expert in the field, as John was mentioning, the pizza places, just talking about this is delicious pizza. The pizza is so delicious because X, Y, and Z. And you could, in theory, do that without ever having your face on camera. So I think, again, it's like find out what you are the happiest with, but get started. Just do it. Don't let the perfect get in the way of the good enough. It's fun. You'll meet a community. You'll be happy. And you'll feel like you almost get like immediate results. Even if it doesn't go viral, you're like, someone clicked like. I'm so happy. And that's fun.
Let me ask you this. Do you all get recognized in your cities from your videos? David?
All the time, yeah.
Constantly, and it drives my wife crazy when it happens because she's like, I have an ego big enough as it is.
And yes, I do, all the time.
Well, listen, this is a fantastic place to end. David, John, Megan, brilliant advice. I have a feeling this podcast episode is going to make Tourpreneur go viral because this is on the front of everyone's minds. My final just feel-good question is, I know your audiences and the algorithm have their picks for their favorite TikToks, but what is your favorite video that you ever made?
Oh, gosh. I have to look at my account.
I know.
It's one I haven't made yet.
Yeah, Megan.
The ones that I'm currently the proudest of are just...
That's a good question.
I'm doing a series that's just about the history of immigration. And I find that as a tour guide, a New York City tour guide specifically, who goes to Ellis Island a lot, I even saw Mitch on Ellis Island. I found that a lot of people are really fascinated by immigration and also have a lot of questions, and there's a lot to teach. And I'm really excited that I finally started my series about immigration through the years, starting in 1789, when George Washington took his oath of office to become the very first president of the constitutional United States. So I'm excited to see how that progresses, and I'm really proud of getting that information out there.
Very cool. I like the idea of what is your proudest TikTok. That's a great framing. John?
For me, my favorite video is one that I've been thinking about for a while. I haven't done it yet. But it's going to be a video about how the murder of George Floyd, the conviction of Derek Chauvin, and the civil unrest that followed has forever changed the city in ways that we don't know yet. Our flag has changed. Our housing policy has changed. Our relationship with indigenous Minnesota has changed. And with the Black Civil Rights Movement, everything has changed about our city. And we aren't talking about it in as much of a way as I think we could be. And so I'm working on piecing together all these disparate things that people in Minnesota are talking about, but pointing to the fact that it's all come from this major event in 2020 and we haven't finished working on. And it's a video I have to get right. It's going to be a sensitive one, but that's the area I like to be in the most, is areas that make you a little bit uncomfortable when you're like, oh God, he's talking about this. Can he do it in a way that's going to be effective?
David, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, okay, so it's the video that's changed my life the most, I think, of the ones I've done. And unfortunately, it's not political or, it's just... So, Taylor Swift. I'm not sure if you've seen my Taylor Swift videos. And so what happened is she released her latest album, which I mispronounced on my video. I called it the Tortured Poets Society. It's got lots of comments. I went to the pub that she mentions in it, the Black Dog, and I said to camera, I've never heard a note by Taylor Swift. What album do you recommend I listen to? And I got, that went viral, as you might guess. It was in the pub, so they had the theme. And then as a result, I started listening to her music. And I love her now. I'm a Swiftian. And I use the money that I earn from the TikTok videos about Taylor Swift to pay for a ticket to see her in London. And so that's what changed my life. I'm a proper Swiftie now. And I think so it was all because of that TikTok video. Yeah, that's it.
That's genius. That is so genius. That's such good marketing strategy.
From 20-year-old investment banker to 60-year-old Swiftie, all in one podcast episode. Megan, David, John, thank you so much. This was entertaining, informative, and exciting. Everybody go out and follow the London Spy 1-minute tours and the Megan Daily. We will post your socials and everything else in the show notes and more on tourpreneur.com. And thank you all. I have a feeling I'm going to be asking you back very soon for more wisdom.